I think we're evolving the business model around esports, and that'll continue to happen. Because we're all gamers, because we live in this culture, we bring all of this together and we try to build a really deep relationship with our players, and that has been the key driver of why our games have lasted as long as they have and why we have as many passionate fans as we have.
Hello everyone, we're here with Sean Needham, President Esports and Publishing at Riot Games. Sean, thank you very much for letting us be here and share this amazing facility with us.
It's amazing, thank you for having me. It's been great.
So how has it been for you? I know you joined Riot Games probably 2017?
Yeah, it's been almost 9 years now.
9 years, that's a lot, but you have a hell of a career before that. So how did you get here?
Yeah, I've worked at a lot of different game publishers in the industry, and I worked for Microsoft for a time up in Seattle. I met a guy who ended up leaving Microsoft and coming to Riot and immediately recruited me in. I'm a gamer, this is the gamer culture in the company, and he just knew I would thrive here. And so it was a great opportunity for me to combine my two big loves in life, video games and sports, together. So it's been awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what was it different about Riot?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the culture. There are very few companies where you have so many passionate fans of games actually working at the industry, and it matters because it's hard. Gaming as a business is a very hard business. You have to love the product to really be successful in it, and I believe that, and we have a lot of people here who believe that as well.
That's amazing. And speaking about the product, it all started with League of Legends
Yes.
at some point in the multiplayer online battle arena. But then evolved into a full ecosystem, entertainment ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it's huge, and we will come back to that and talk a little bit more about that. But what were the pillars that allowed Riot to make that transition?
Yeah, I mean, we are a gaming company at our core, but we're, I think, a special kind of gaming company. If you know anything about Riot, you know that our ambition is to be the most player-focused gaming company on the planet. I think we are. Everything that we do goes through this lens of how are we improving the player experience. And so Riot has a special approach to that. We have a lot of capabilities across esports and music and consumer products and animated television that because we're all gamers, because we live in this culture, we bring all of this together and we try to build a really deep relationship with our players, and that has been the key driver of why our games have lasted as long as they have and why we have as many passionate fans as we have. We are them, we are the community, and we love to celebrate gaming together with them, and I think that makes a difference.
So when you go transmedia, right, and you moved into, again, animation, music, and that's amazing. How do you make all that ecosystem work for the fans, and how do you fit that back into the core of the game?
Yeah, and that's my job actually, is taking all of the out-of-game experiences and creating culture around our games, which is really fun to work in. It's hard, but it's fun. And it's really about getting people who have different capabilities, trying to find ones that have some affinity for games and are gamers. So we are constantly pursuing fandom in what we do, and I think the way that you build fandom is you take your players who love your game and you deliver other things around the game that you know they love, that's part of their culture, and that deepens the relationship to them to the point where you can graduate them from being players to fans, to self-identifying as fans of Riot, as fans of our games, and then that's when you build this really long relationship with people. It's not about just getting another game out like most publishers are doing. We are heavily invested in our games, and Riot invests more back in its players than any game publisher on the planet.
That's amazing. So I heard you speak about culture.
Yes.
Many times, and when you refer to culture, there's like no clear line between the company and the fans.
Yep.
And I perceive that
Yep.
a lot. So can you tell us a little bit, with the scale, how do you manage to retain that, which is actually part of your success?
I mean, it's pretty beautiful, actually. Gaming culture is pretty ubiquitous around the world. Gamers love similar things. Of course, it's playing video games, but things like anime and manga and esports. So all of this, regardless of where you live and your background, because you're centered on your fandom around games and the stuff that surrounds our games, that really gives you an opportunity to activate an international, global community, and we lean very heavily into that. We have over 20 offices around the world because we want to have a local presence that's able to take what we make, and if there's slight adjustments we need to make to our content to have it resonate even more deeply with our players in that region, we have a team that helps us do that.
That's great. So I've been related to Riot for a long time, and we were actually talking about that before this interview.
Crazy.
And yeah, it's been a long time. And one of the things that I noticed was attention to detail. And this is something that has a lot to do with the industry, but what I sensed here was amazing, right? And it all came down to infusing that to all your staff, all your people. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, the internal culture of the company?
Yeah, I mean, when you have games like League of Legends is the most popular PC game of all time. Now Valorant is the biggest tactical shooter in the world. When you have Teamfight Tactics, the biggest strategy game now on the planet that no one's heard about, you touch a lot of players, and these players, because of the history of Riot and all the things that this company has done for players, their expectations are sky high. So anything that we produce here, one, it's very expensive and you really invest in the experience, but two, because we have so many people here who know what the community loves and who are as demanding as we think the community is for anything that we release, we just set our own bars very high. It's like we want to surprise and delight our players with everything that we do. And if that's the mindset that you're in, you're going to pay a lot of attention to everything that you're doing for those players. And we just, again, we genuinely care about our players in a way that most gaming companies don't.
That's great. So I bet you use a lot of partners, such as Globant, right?
A lot of partners, yes.
Yes, and I bet that properly selecting them is only part of the equation, but then there's a second aspect to it, which is bringing them on board as part of that culture. Any notes on that?
Yeah, I think we take a little bit different approach to partnerships than most companies. You know, before we even start talking business, and this is what was so great about our conversations early on, it's about, do we align culturally on doing great things for players, right? Do we care about that together? Is there an opportunity to collaborate in a way that we can do something really cool for players? And I think we saw that right away with Globant. Then we sort through the business, and then we have a number of ways I think that are unique to work with partners. So we have all of our big esports events where we'll do typical things like fan zones, but we also have unique things we do. On our watch platform in Riot's websites, if you watch esports on this platform, we have this feature that's called drops. And what drops allows us to do is during certain moments in an esports broadcast, we can push digital promotions to our players, we can push digital items to them. Collectability is one of the main motivations of gamers generally. And our players just love these things, these like really simple things. And we do this all the way up to, we will, for special partners, design skins, in-game content. And our most famous one is Louis Vuitton, where we collaborated with their designers. We did a whole skin line in League of Legends around Louis Vuitton. That is one of the most popular skin lines we have in the game. So we just love to find opportunities to collaborate with our partners and do really cool things for players.
One of the things that I I immediately noticed once I met Riot back in the days was that the game was not the most demanding one in terms of hardware requirements. Yes. Still, when we saw the tech stack supporting the game, etc., oh my God, it was technology was definitely, mainstream technology was definitely there. You have an amazing staff with awesome capabilities. So my question to you would be, in the light of the new technologies, and especially with regards to AI, etc., how do you see those technologies collaborating with your purpose, with fan engagements, with the business itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, as you can imagine, through the lens of how can we leverage technology to either better service our players or deliver like a really memorable, mind-blowing moment for them. I'll give you a couple of examples. Before our biggest esports events, like the finals of Worlds, we will do an opening ceremony. The ceremony will be a couple of music performances, we'll have dancers and entertainment, and then we'll bring the teams out in the sport, and the competition will start. We make a lot of virtual bands in our games, and for League of Legends, we have 3 or 4 now. We want these bands to come perform in these opening ceremonies, and we leverage augmented reality to kind of bring that to life. But these days, like looking forward, there's a couple of things. We're geeking out a lot on vertical feeds and short form content. We're leveraging AI to help us cut up our broadcasts into smaller segments that we can put out on our socials and put on short form video platforms. So that's been a lot of fun. But we're starting to look even more down the road because we want the experience for our players to be so amazing when they're with us. We're looking at AI, we're looking at all the data we have on our players, and we're thinking about how can we customize the experience for our players based on where they are in their journey with Riot. And we're going to continue to really push the limits on personalizing that experience across all vectors. So even in the skins that we promote in our store and everything else, it'll be a completely custom experience for each of our players.
I wonder how can that happen, because one of the things I've been hearing from the industry is that AI is bringing us closer and closer to that idea of one player, one game, right?
Yeah.
Hyper customization. So that idea of segmenting players and trying to bring a great experience for most of them, so you can play the game in different ways. Now it's actually moving towards creating a custom tailored experience somehow. But I'm wondering, in the case of League of Legends, as an example, how does it work for massive online multiplayer? What are the aspects that you can actually customize for each individual?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, right? Because we do so much. We have a huge community of content creators who are constantly churning out content that we look through and we try to curate to deliver to our players. But really, at the end of the day, it's all about the data that you collect. So we have collected just a ton of data that now we're probably going to need a power plant to power our servers so we can take all that data and synthesize it and then match it with all the content that we have, right, to deliver that back to players. There'll be other things too that we do with AI. We're already looking at better bots that our players can practice against in our games, which will be super fun. And I'm even thinking about, can we customize our esports broadcasts for each individual player based on what we know about them, because we have these amazing remote broadcast centers. We tag our content in a number of ways. We could deliver unique clips, unique live experiences to our players based on what we know about them, but it's going to take a lot of horsepower to do that, and you guys are going to help us.
We will, I promise, I promise. So speaking a little bit of the future, how do you envision esports moving forward? What's the future?
Yeah, I think we're still growing as a sport. I think we have figured out the right business model for esports. For a while, we were chasing broadcast revenues, and we have a philosophy at Riot. We want to be where our players are, and our players are all on free streaming platforms. So we made a decision a while ago actually that we weren't going to try to do exclusive broadcast deals with partners like traditional sports do, but that we would change the business model to be more based in selling digital content direct to our viewers. I want to customize the broadcast as I described, and then we have all these interactive activities that we add real time to the competition. So I think the interactivity part of it will continue to evolve. And then of course, this direct connection that our fans have to pro players and to us through chat and through social media. I think esports just does the best job with that and that engagement because it's core to the game experience. Oh, and I forgot one thing. We did a huge innovation in sports broadcasts that's been really successful. It's called co-streaming.
Okay.
Co-streaming is where we take our main broadcast feed, we send it to an influencer, they talk over it, they maybe have a watch party with their friends, and then they rebroadcast it on their channels. This allowed us to reach new audiences we wouldn't have been able to reach before, re-engage players who may have churned out of our ecosystem. But it's incredibly popular. Over half of our viewership comes from co-streaming these days. So we did this before the Manning brothers did their NFL co-stream.
That's awesome.
Very proud of that.
So, John, thank you very, very much
Thank you.
for your time. This has been amazing. People, you should know this place because, trust me, it's unbelievable. Hopefully, you will get to see a couple of flybys of the office so you get an idea. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You.
It's been super fun.